Hi guys, I'm Bharat Ranka, the co-founder of India's first premium non-leather fashion brand for men, Ethik. Innovation at the core is all about disruption, and we personally feel that disruption is a lot of chaos, right? So it's never an easy process. It's never very organized. It's not the most straightforward linear part or a very process-oriented approach, right? So in that disruption, when we were thinking about innovating in sustainable materials back in 2010 when my co-founder Pankaj Khabia decided to start with Ethik. So of course there was no ecosystem as such for non-leather alternatives. Neither was there any knowledge center or any manual as such that could be followed to kind of get there. So I think at the core of it all was a relentless passion to firstly bring about a sustainable ecosystem at par with leather. And I think what innovation essentially is about, it's always an upgrade, right? So you innovate to have an upgrade on what is the status quo currently. So, even with the innovation in the materials that we wanted to source, we were always very clear that this had to be something at par or better than leather in terms of look, feel, and performance. And of course, it was a lot of challenges because operating out of India for the first 2.5 years, we worked with various manufacturers, various suppliers, only to realize that the knowledge of sustainable materials was rather invisible in India. It was nowhere to be seen. I think we thought that once we would find the right material, it would be half the battle won. But I think we realized that the biggest challenge that we were ever going to face was to actually educate the consumer that something like this exists, right? Because innovations are also tough to comprehend for a large part of the masses. So around 2013-14, when we started bringing out our products under the brand name Ethik, we started from a store in Bangalore at Church Street, right? And those were the days where vegan, non-leather, cruelty-free, these were not mainstream jargons or words that a lot of people were aware of. And we realized that we had a Herculean task. Our store had a span of 5 years. We were present in Bangalore for close to 4 to 5 years. That also helped us to understand what part of the information is either lacking or getting miscommunicated to the consumer. And around that time in 2017-18, when our store leg was kind of on the verge of winding down, we also had a very good access to the digital ecosystem, wherein we realized that compared to being just present physically at a store outlet, if we could take our business, our brand, our message online, then we could disseminate the information in a much larger way, in a much more clear way, something that could be referred to time and again. And we realized that digital was the way to go around 2018-19. That's when we also started working on our first ever e-commerce portal that we launched in December 2019. And with that, we realized that spreading information, awareness, and knowledge about the materials, the products, the impact that it has on the environment became a way more easier task. I think it's now easier than ever. We are in a much more feasible and viable ecosystem right now. So I think we've been, it has been unplanned, but we've been fairly lucky that way because in 2013 we started off with a store, right? And we ran a store for 5 years in Bangalore in one of the premium high streets. And in 2019 onwards, we decided to go digital, even with a few listings on marketplaces. So I think we've had the best and worst of both worlds that way. We've spent a fair bit of time as a physical store, and over the last 2 years, we've done quite some work in the online ecosystem as well. I think what it only reinforces for us is that Omnichannel is the way to go. And we've had feedback coming from across spectrums, from old consumers, new consumers, how they would be most comfortable with Ethik, and it would add so much credibility to the brand if it had an omni-channel experience. So all of this feedback that we've gathered over the years, and since getting into online, we've also worked a fair bit on data analytics, right? Because it also enables you to capture not just your generic data like name, age, gender, location, but so much more the page that you dropped off from and the kind of time that you're spending on a particular page. So the user journey is so much more well documented, and combine that with the experience that we've had on the offline channel. What we do realize is that for a brand like ours, where touch and feel also becomes very important for people to validate the quality of the product or the make and the finish of the product, it becomes not an option, but rather the only way that we can operate in the future, or even in the present for that matter. It's the need of the hour. I think there are two aspects to this. One is the controllables, and second is the uncontrollables, right? As far as controls are concerned, we can streamline our processes, our orders, our return refunds processes, our shipping processes. There's a fair bit of automation, plugins, features available out there at dirt cheap prices with really good features and facilities in terms of upgrades, bug fixes, and all of that, right? So that part is the controllables, and that is something that we at Ethik are also implementing with every passing day. I think what you still cannot control, or what I like to call the uncontrollables, is probably a lot of brands are very averse to offering COD for that matter, right? Because that also, I think it has still improved in the last few years, but COD still remains one of the key bone of contention points in the Indian e-commerce ecosystem. We are dealing with these kind of unpleasant circumstances where orders are getting returned without anyone claiming them, or wrong addresses happening, wrong amount collections happening. So I think there's still that gap, that needs to be addressed. But also what we're trying to do at Ethik is we're trying to listen to the consumers. We are observing the larger D2C ecosystem as a whole, and we are trying to be as agile as possible into implementing and incorporating these systems into Ethik at the least possible time that we can.